Places, everybody. And action.
It's time once again for the Hooked on Movies podcast. Today we will be looking at the sequel to the 1984 release, Beverly Hills Cop. We're going to 1987 for Beverly Hills Cop II. With me are Ken.
Ted, we got to talk.
And of course, let's talk. Ted?
Eric? Don't think, Eric. It makes my dick itch.
I think you need to go see the doctor for that.
Probably.
Yeah. Gentlemen, do I really look like Gerald Ford?
You all look like
A little bit.
Ford.
We all look like Gerald Ford. Excellent. And we are talking about Beverly Hills Cop 2. So before we get into the movie, let's see what's going on with us, huh? How did the week treat you?
I didn't really watch much except for maybe some Star Trek. This movie, of course. I bought Little House on the Prairie, the series. I know you guys are excited about that.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I bought the series for that as well.
Oh, there you go. That's better than Little House on the Prairie.
The movie Running Scared, I already had it on DVD, but I got it on Blu-ray, so I'm giving Eric my copy of that.
That's right.
And then
what, Little House on the Prairie?
No.
Yeah,
Running Scared.
Little House Prairie.
Oh, okay.
But then the last thing I got this week, and Ted will appreciate, is Maverick, the TV series, the complete series.
Yeah, no.
Wow,
James
you're all
Cameron.
over the place.
Oh,
Wow.
hard pass.
What about you, Ted? Can you top that? That's pretty hard to beat.
I did watch the Olympics this week.
Boring.
Had to watch Simone Biles. She's one of the greatest athletes ever. You know, in the last couple of days, I've watched the documentary Grizzly Man, watched Fanboys, and then I watched Spaceballs, and
We only got an hour and a half here, Ted.
Yeah.
and I watched the Change Up with Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman. So,
By the way,
Wow.
I would have won the Olympics, but I test too high on my testosterone level. So,
yeah,
That's why I didn't
somehow I
qualify.
doubt.
Those poor
Yeah.
Albanians. Yeah.
and by the way, I found out that I was listening to the Rich Eisen show, which I really like that show. It's one of the best sports shows out there, but he does a really good job of bringing just regular celebrities on. But he got Matt Damon on there, and they talked about possible Rounders sequel. So
Yeah,
that's
they
pretty cool.
made the news rounds. That's pretty
Definitely down for that. If they can get both him and Edward Norton on board, which it sounded like Edward Norton would be up for that as well. I read that article. Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. I'd be interested to see how they revisit those two characters.
Yeah, because Ed Norton's character should be dead by now.
You would think.
You would think
that he would have.
Someone would have killed him by now, right? Right.
Yeah.
But I would definitely watch that one.
Yeah.
So, Eric, how are you doing this week? What did you do this week?
Well, not too much, gentlemen. I can't compete with your exciting lives. I work a lot, of course, but I did finally start season 4 of Barry, so I'm very, very interested in that. He finally got arrested for the murder of the
Spoiler alert.
of the
Spoilers.
lieutenant. No. Come on,
Okay.
guys. The
All
show's
right.
a couple years old. If you're not watching it,
I
not a
eventually
spoiler.
want to watch it.
It's a
I just
great
don't
show.
have HBO Max, that's all.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to see it. I think this is I don't know if they're coming out with a 5. I think we're stuck on 4 right now. So I'll probably get through that in the next week or two. So that's the highlight of my exciting life right now.
What, your life wasn't as exciting as watching Little House on the Prairie?
I didn't watch it. I bought it.
I know.
Oh,
So
I love Little House on the Prairie. That was my favorite show when I was a kid.
yeah, you and every little teenage girl.
So for clarification, let's be truthful, Ken. Ken likes to buy movies in box sets and stack them and not watch them just for his lending library. So it's not like Ken sat down and watched all 82 seasons of Little House on the Prairie.
I'm planning on doing it, though. Well, first I'm going to watch all seasons of Get Smart first, and then maybe jump to the Little House a little bit later. Hey, at least this Star Wars fan here has already watched the latest Star Wars show. Somebody who proclaims to be the greatest Star Wars fan has yet to watch the last series.
Well, here's the deal. Because what I'll do is I'll end up binging it, and then I'll want more. That's the way it goes.
Okay. let's talk about the first time we saw this movie. And we know for Ted, this is it. First time.
Yes, it was.
Great. How many times did you watch it?
I watched it all of once.
Yeah, all of once. How about you, Ken?
I saw it in the theater. I actually had went to see another film, and me and my friends snuck in to see a second film, and this was it.
What was the first film?
I love doing that.
No, I don't remember what the first film was. I want to say it was Back to School, but I don't think I'm right by saying
that was 87. That was 87.
Of the two movies, this was the memorable movie. Man, that doesn't say much for the first movie you saw.
Dude, if it was Back to School.
Well, the reason why it was memorable is because we snuck in.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you.
Like, snuck in through like a side door or just didn't leave the theater?
Didn't leave the theater.
So you just sat down low and...
We sat in the back, all the way in the back. And actually, we got a little scared because one of the ushers came in and we were sitting all the way in the back. And at that time, I was 15 years old. And a little worried because it's a rated R film. We're a little worried that they're, I'm not saying with an adult that they're going to say something or do something. But it was the Bolingbroke Theater, which is no longer in existence. They couldn't care. You could be 8 years old watching that film, and they wouldn't care. So.
I've only been in one theater that actually cared, and that was the NGC in Yorkville. They were a little uptight about that whole situation, but I love doing that. I love going for the double feature.
It's hard to do it now because of the assigned seating,
right?
That they have.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you can always. I'm sitting in the wrong seat. I'm sorry.
True that.
Or if it's a movie that's not very popular, the theater's not going to be crowded. Just
right. So, don't do that for Deadpool this weekend.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that crowded when I went to see Deadpool. I mean, there was people there, but it wasn't sold out. It was probably half full. But I mean, I hear it's doing really well.
It's doing incredibly well.
Interesting. When I go to the movies, there used to be ushers that would watch everybody get their seats in and then leave. There's no ushers there when you get in there. It's like a free for all now. So.
Yeah, no. First time I saw this movie probably was junior high in the late 80s, early 90s on video. I don't have a lasting story like Ken does, but yeah. So we're obviously not experts, but I know we have qualifications. Ken, what qualifies you to review this?
I was a phone operator for the Psychic Network at one time.
Wonderful. You and Johnny Wishbone. How about you, Ted?
I actually sued Miss Cleo.
Oh, did you? Oh. Yeah. You didn't. She didn't tell your fortune.
No, she was wrong.
Ted probably got me, and I probably give him
most likely.
Yeah. How did that work out for you, Ted? My predictions.
Didn't.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm here with you right now.
How about you, Eric?
I think I probably had a stack of Playboy magazines 5 feet tall. So, me and Hugh Hefner, we're like this.
Eric lived in the Playboy Mansion.
I lived in the Playboy Mansion, right. I was...
Gotta love Hef.
Yeah, I was, hidden
Hef is one of the most interesting people ever.
He's a psychotic nut job, but he is extremely interesting.
He wasn't
He lives in his own little world. It is so weird.
He does.
He's dead now, and I live in his own little coffin.
But
right?
He wasn't always crazy and eccentric.
Yes.
He was actually a very cunning businessman.
It's the same like with Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes wasn't a nut job early on, but then he just went, off the reservation and became extremely eccentric. I'm waiting for Elon Musk to go that route.
Elon Musk is not nearly as fun, though, as Larry Flint or Hugh Hefner.
Well, I don't know if I want to qualify those two people as fun, but I mean, if you look at Hugh
they
Hefner,
were eccentric.
Yeah, but if you look at Hugh Hefner, I mean, he was very popular. He had his own TV show with the girls. Was it the Girls Next Door or something like that? And now he's been canceled. He's been.
Wow.
I mean, granted, he's dead. That's why he's canceled. But now you got these TV shows that basically just make like the most evil person that ever.
It was the era.
And he wasn't. He was a very cunning businessman. That's what's lost is like when he got everything started, and he had to be cutthroat to get his magazine out there. And
have you seen the documentary Porn King?
No, I've not.
You haven't, because I just made it up.
Well, that's why.
Eric's working on it himself right now. So.
I'm working on it myself, right.
Larry Flint was the true eccentric. But here again, another amazingly interesting human being.
We could talk all day about eccentric
yes.
porn stars and porn kings, but we got to talk about a movie here.
Playboy is not porn.
Okay, soft porn.
Okay, yeah, it's just for the articles anyway. So.
Literally.
Playboy
Great
is
articles.
not porn.
Well, how about Larry Flint, the cartoons? Some of the cartoons of those
Yes.
guys.
Exactly.
Some of the racist, bad cartoons in that magazine. Oh, my goodness. All right. So we all know it qualifies us now to watch this movie and talk about this movie. So let's get into it. So obviously, if you are listening to us, you're listening to us on some type of platform. So you can find us, of course, on Twitter/X, the new Elon Musk X format. Hooked on _movies. Anything new with that, Ted?
No, just come on over and get into the conversations that we're having, and we'll be more than happy to interact with you.
And Ken, you're doing a phenomenal job with Facebook, Hooked on Movies. Of course, you can find us on Facebook. Some great articles, some great banter and conversation. Hey, and that's where I found out about Rounders 2. Yeah.
I try to give out you guys some news to just go wow. And and I thank you all for that contribute to the page as well. People like Chris and Chad and Justin's always throwing something in there from time to time. So we do appreciate it. And we do like it when we hear that even if you don't like the movie, that you enjoy listening to us talk about the movie. So we appreciate that as well. Because not all the movies you're going to like. I mean, granted, my tastes are better than Ted's. It's nice to hear that you guys like what we do.
You like us. You
really
like us. Yes. Sweet. Let's turn gears to a sad note. Ken, who did we lose in July? What famous people did we lose? I draw a tear.
So on July 5th, we lost John Landau of cancer at 63. He was the Academy Award-winning producer of Titanic and the Avatar movies, which I'm not a big fan of the Avatar movies. And actually,
Titanic is one of my favorites. I love Titanic.
Titanic has grown on me through the years, but I still cringe at the end when Jack dies. But
you cry. You cry at the end.
I cringe, not cry.
I heard cry.
I heard cry too.
I heard cry too. Yeah. Who else did we lose?
We lost Shelley Duvall on July 11 from complications of diabetes. She was 75 years old, and of course, she's best known for The Shining, which we've done, Popeye, and Nashville. And she also had the Fairy Tale Theater
on
series,
HBO,
which was really cool to watch.
That ran for many, many years.
Yeah. Many years. On July 13th, we lost Shannon Doherty of cancer. She was 53 years old. She was best known for 90210 and the TV series Charmed, and was in Mallrats, which we have previously reviewed.
Mallrats.
Yes. I was going to say she had a phenomenal podcast that I listened to, and it was very, very sad the last couple months of the podcast. She was going through some extensive treatments, but she always was very, very upbeat and positive, except going through that divorce with her ex-husband. That wasn't very positive for her. But honestly, she really thought she was going to live longer. She's taking some experimental medication for the cancer that metastasized to her brain. I won't say it was funny, but the podcast was recorded, I think, about 10 days before she died. And she was, just articulate, great spirits, upbeat, coherent, everything. You wouldn't have even known she had cancer. And then you're like, 10 days later, she passes. It was very sad. And they had a nice tribute for her on her podcast by people she worked with, and Kevin Smith was part of that tribute as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. That was a shocking one.
Fun fact for you, Ted. She was in Little House on the Prairie.
She was. That's right.
The last couple of seasons.
And they did mention that thank you, Ken. They did mention it on the podcast as well, too. Yeah.
She was, I guess, a difficult actress to get along with. She had some problems on the show Charm, especially. And I think she had some problems with some people also on Mallrats, from what I heard. And I think that's why she wasn't recast again, which was kind of interesting that Kevin Smith, was on the podcast.
Let's be honest. You're not going to go on a podcast and bash someone who just died of terminal cancer. You're going to say positives, and even if they were difficult, the final product was very good. So there were some positives.
She may have been difficult with some of the other actors, but her and Kevin Smith always got along.
Yeah. And sometimes, it could be just personality clashes. She could be a good person. You're not going to get along with everybody. And
she was notorious on 90210, though.
Was she? I know Charm, because she eventually had a lead Charm And Rose McGowan, I think, replaced her because of,
I think so.
Alyssa Milano
man,
issues,
I was infatuated with Rose McGowan growing up watching Charmed. Oh, did I say
Okay.
that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
I did. So now I've been canceled.
And then we lost on July 18th. We lost Bob Newhart. He was 94 years old. He's best known for his TV roles on the Newhart shows that he did, and then he was also on Big Bang Theory recently.
Yep.
So he gained some fame for being, Professor Proton. And then he was Papa Elf in the movie Elf, which we also reviewed for one of our Christmas movies.
Yeah, worst
Eric's favorite
Christmas
movie.
movie ever.
Eric's favorite movie.
The movie sucks. It doesn't get any better. I like Bob Newhart's stand-up comedy albums from the late 60s, early 70s.
He's very funny.
Very, very subtle, very nonchalant. Yeah, I really enjoyed those.
A thinking man's comic.
Yes. Very good. Yes, a thinking man's comedy, which definitely rolled into the Newhart show of the early 70s.
Big time. Larry Darrell.
Actually, my favorite thing was the second Newhart show at the end when he brought the original wife character,
Suzanne Plachette. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, and at the end, so it was basically
all a dream.
The whole series was a dream. It was a beautiful way of doing it. I loved how they wrapped that up. It was you couldn't get away with that now because
it's one of the best endings to a TV show ever.
I agree. It's one of the best ever, if not the best. It's because we always complain about great TV shows going out on a whimper, like Seinfeld, for instance, didn't really.
Seinfeld was horrible.
It was not a very good ending.
But I heard Seinfeld was supposed to come back with another episode down the road, and they still have been talking about this where they kind of.
That's never going to happen.
I don't think it's never going to happen.
No.
One, because Michael Richards cannot be cast right now. Because he's canceled.
I did just get his book, his new memoir from the library, which I plan on reading.
Yeah, he can't be cast, but at the same time, Jerry Seinfeld adores him, and I think he had him in the movie Frosted.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I haven't seen that yet, and he was on. Michael Richards did do a lot of cameos on Curb Your Enthusiasm too.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is now bigger than all of them.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
I should not return my calls though.
Well, and that's sad. I like Newhart. I love him as Professor Proton.
So Ted, why don't you give us that particular?
Okay, Beverly Hills Cop 2 is directed by Tony Scott. Had a screenplay by Larry Ferguson and Warren Scarron. Had a running time of 103 minutes. A release date of May 20th, 1987. Had a budget of $27 million and a box office of gross of $299.97 million.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Well, it's a summer movie. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a critic score of a 49% splat, but an audience score of 58%.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, it's better than the critic score.
Yeah, but they both suck.
Yeah, they both kind of do.
But it still means that more people liked it than they liked it. So
8%, okay.
It has an IMDb rating of 6.6, so that's lower than the original as well.
Beverly Hills Cop 3 will say, hold my beer. So there you go.
Yeah, right.
Beverly Hills Cop 2 stars Eddie Murphy reprising his role as Axel Foley, Judge Reinhold reprising his role as Detective Billy Rosewood, Jurgen Prochnow as Maxwell Dent, Ronnie Cox as Captain Andrew Bogomil, John Ashton reprising his role as Sergeant John Taggart, Brigitte Nielsen as Carla Fry, Alan Garfield as Chief Harold Blutz, Dean Stockwell as Charles Kane, Gil Hill as Inspector Douglas Todd, Gilbert Gottfried makes an appearance as Sidney Bernstein.
And he's actually pretty good.
Yes, he is.
And I have a disdained hatred of Gilbert Gottfried, but I actually like him.
It's the voice, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, but
yeah.
You know what? Him playing an accountant is actually the perfect role.
Yes. And Paul Reiser reprises his role as Detective Jeffrey Friedman. He actually has a little bit bigger role in this movie.
A little bit.
And then a couple of faces that you might recognize that appear in the movie. Hugh Hefner appears as himself.
And who is that?
Yes,
right.
Hugh Hefner.
Egbert does talk about him.
I know.
And Chris Rock makes an appearance as the parking valet.
Gets a $50 tip.
His first movie. And
before
actually,
he took off.
he hasn't changed one iota as far as how he delivers his line. It's the same.
Exactly.
It's the same way.
He's
the last
awesome.
40 years.
He's awesome. I love Chris Rock.
I do like Chris Rock a lot. I remember him in Boomerang. He's like, first the fat boys break up, now this.
The Fat Boys. I love the Fat Boys.
You
Wipeout.
have to love the Fat Boys.
Yes.
So
My goodness, I haven't heard a reference about the Fat Boys probably since 1987. Oh my goodness.
I've been trying for the last 4 years to try
Yeah,
to work it into
you've been
the
holding that
podcast.
one in your pocket for a while, right? Yes. Awesome. All right.
I used to play the hell out of that cassette tape.
Oh my
They had
goodness.
their own movie too.
Disorderlies.
Yes, they did.
Disorderlies, man. That was
Yep.
one of my favorites.
Yep.
That's a horrible movie.
It was so bad, but
It is
so
so horrible, but it's
Disorderlies.
Yeah.
Yes. John Bon Jovi had a hit song on that album, on that
Yes,
movie
he did.
soundtrack, Edge of a
Yes, he
Broken
did.
Heart. Isn't that insane?
Yep.
God, I miss the 80s so much. Oh my goodness. Disorderlies. The Fat Boys get their own movie. Oh my
God,
goodness. Okay.
I love
All
the Fat Boys.
right. That should be your little Facebook thing. Hey, who remembers the Fat Boys, right?
Yeah, no shit, right?
Yeah. All right.
I think one of them lost a lot of weight. I think one of them has passed away now, I
He's
believe.
dead. Yeah.
So he's not a Fat Boy anymore?
No, he's
He's a dust boy. Yeah.
a dust boy. Yeah.
That sucks. That sucks.
So what kind of accolades, there's a big word you don't hear much. What kind of awards did this movie win, nominate?
It won one bad award. It
A
won
Razzie? Did it win a
a
Razzie?
Razzie for worst
Yeah.
original song. I Want Your
Oh,
Sex
my-
by George Michael.
Oh my goodness.
George,
I know.
Come on now. George Michael is a national treasure.
The controversy of that song at the time, because if you remember back in the 80s, there was controversy of them playing it on MTV. The video.
I remember. And
Yeah,
radio
I remember.
too.
I
Yep.
remember.
Yeah. So it might have been why that got a golden raspberry is because of maybe just a conservative view of things back in the 80s. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. But then on the flip side, Shakedown, that was sung by Bob Seger, was nominated for Best Original Song at the Academy Awards and also at the Golden Globe Awards. And fun fact here was Glenn Frey was supposed to reprise and sing that song, but he got laryngitis, then suggested that Bob Seger do it. And this is actually Bob Seger's only number one hit.
Only number one hit. I know.
Really?
He's great. Yeah, it's his only number one hit. He's had many in the top 10, a couple in the top 5, but never number one.
Huh. That's
I know. Isn't that, you would think he would have something.
Old time rock and roll.
Nope.
I would have thought that would have been number one.
Mm-mm.
Nope,
Interesting.
just this one. And then Eddie Murphy won for favorite movie actor at the Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards, because when you think of a rated R movie winning a award, you think
They
of
had those
Nickelodeon.
in 1987?
Yes. Nickelodeon Kids
I didn't
Choice
think
Award.
Nickelodeon was that prescient in 1987.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. But it was definitely, I didn't think they had award shows then.
No,
You
I
can't
thought
do
that
that
was
on television?
relatively...
Yeah, I love that show.
I love that show. That's
Yeah.
a great show.
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette was on that
She
show.
was, yeah. Cool. All right, well, let's talk about some of the productions of this one, because this has got some interesting production notes. So, Ken, how did this movie come to be made? It's one of those movies where you're like, is it really want a sequel? But they were really pressing for it.
Well, they actually were trying to press for a TV series,
Right.
actually.
Steve Murphy said no dice.
Oh, yeah, he said no for that.
Mm-mm.
Well, think about it. Would you really want a TV show that took away all the swearing? And then,
No.
and then on top of that, they rely on the strip club. You're gonna,
Yeah.
have to take away the strip club as
And
well.
Eddie, he just came from television. He doesn't want to go back. He's a
Right,
movie
right.
star. I mean, he is gold. Literally the golden child. No pun intended. Thank you. Thank you. I've been holding that one for a while, too.
And then the producers had to hire Tony Scott to direct because, well, first of all, he did Top Gun in 1986.
Right.
So who doesn't want the biggest director right now doing this movie?
Of course.
But because the original director who worked on the first film, he was working on Midnight Run.
Well, that's not too bad of a movie.
Another
It
great
was a-
movie.
That's what originally when this movie was made. The problem with Scott was he never made a comedy. He was just an action film guy.
Still
what-
hasn't.
So I was going to say, some would argue he still hasn't. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
they had to do reshoots on this movie after the first screening because there wasn't any jokes, so they had to rewrite some stuff in and refilm it to add some more comedy to the film.
They should have just let Eddie Murphy direct it and ad-lib the whole thing with everyone. It probably would have been a better movie.
Well, this is the first time Eddie Murphy actually co-wrote or wrote a film too, as well. And it actually originally was going to be set in Europe. They were going to go into London and Paris, but Eddie's like, I don't want to travel, so that didn't work out.
But then it wouldn't have been Beverly Hills Cop.
It would have been Beverly Hills Cop in Europe.
It'd have been
European Cop.
European Cop, yeah.
I'm sure you could have made it work where part of it was in Beverly Hills and part of it was overseas. Sure. So.
Yeah, so you go from like Detroit to Beverly Hills and then Beverly Hills to Europe with the whole crew, right?
Right.
Well, like every good movie, there's other roles that are geared to other people. What about this one, Ken?
Well, most of the roles are set. The only thing that we noticed is Vincent Pinchot was slated to reprise his role as Surge, but unfortunately he was doing the sitcom Perfect Strangers, which was really big.
Huge.
At that particular time.
You want to talk about cheesy 80s sitcoms. If you watch now, are not even remotely funny. But in 80s, we just laughed our ass off.
It was part of the TGIF lineup.
Oh, God. I just recently, just on some of the over-the-air stuff, watched a couple episodes of Alf. I loved Alf growing up. Oh, that thing is just trash.
Yeah, it's not good.
It is horrible.
The dad in that movie, I guess, or that
TV
died.
Show. He just died.
He died, but I guess he hated the puppet Alf.
Yeah,
I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
Alf is great.
No, it's
not. I never even cared for Alf when I was younger as well.
You
watched Little House on the Prairie.
Yes, I did.
You cannot comment on TV shows.
Wow.
Melissa Gilbert was one of my favorite. Was my first crush, I think, as a kid.
Go back to the 1800s and.
I worked with a girl whose name was Melissa Gilbert. No, not with Merlin Olsen. No,
with Merlin Olsen
delivering flowers. No, I worked with a girl whose name was Melissa Gilbert. And
that's unfortunate.
Well, trust me, when I first met her, I'm like, "Oh, Melissa Gilbert." She's like, "Yeah, I know. Little House on the Prairie. I get it." She was. It
hilarious.
Just drove her nuts, and she recently got married, and of course, changed her name. So,
of course,
yes, of course. So, yes,
that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, yep. Oh, it just set her off. She's like, "I know, yes." It'll haunt her for life.
Oh, that's funny.
Ry Cox was supposed to have more screen time in this film, but he was filming RoboCop at the time, where he was the baddie on that film.
I forgot about Robo. Yeah, he was. That's right.
Yeah, so that's why you only see him at the beginning of this movie and at the end of the movie, because he was filming that movie as well.
Dean Stockwell's in this movie. He was in Quantum Leap, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes,
he was.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And then Don Simpson, who's one of the producers here on this movie, he was, I guess, very powerful at the time. He
did Days of Thunder, didn't
he? Oh,
yeah.
Simpson Bruckheimer was huge at this time.
He had Paramount remove Larry Ferguson from his writing duties on the Presidio to rewrite this film. So he actually forced Paramount to take him off of one film and put him back onto this film. That's powerful he is.
And the Presidio is a pretty good flick too. Wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent flick. And then as far as any problems on the film, Eddie Murphy was just always late. He started becoming a deep around this particular time.
He did.
So. And then, of course, the rumor had it, Tony Scott and Bridget Nielsen had an affair during the filming.
How about...
And it's funny because throughout the whole movie, they're kind of ripping and having fun with Sylvester Stallone.
A little bit.
Have posters of Cobra up there, and he's like, and even Taggart's fuck Rambo.
Right.
Because Bridget Nielsen, of course, was in Cobra. And, of course, the original movie, Beverly Hills Cop, was almost going to be like Cobra because Sylvester Stallone was going to be in it. So it's just a lot of things that we see in the movie, like the guns that come out of the trunk. Granted, I think the producer also has guns in his trunk. I think that's where they got from. But it's very Sylvester Stallone-ish, like making fun. So it's almost like Billy Sylvester Stallone.
We need to talk, Billy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to talk, Billy.
In the in some of the not the outtakes, but some of the stuff I watched about the movie, some of the behind the scenes stuff, they were talking. Eddie Murphy was joking with Brigitte Nielsen about her height and his height, and then he was slamming Stallone about his height versus her height. So yeah, they're always talking about height and Stallone in this movie and the outtakes. It's kind of funny.
Well, Stallone's like a midget compared to Brigitte Nielsen.
Well, everyone's a midget compared to Brigitte Nielsen. So
we'll talk about that in the movie in the gun scene too. So on that note, Eric, why don't you get us set up for this movie?
all right, let's talk about the setup. 2 years after the events of the first film, Captain Andrew Bogomil, Detective Billy Rosewood, and Sergeant John Taggart are investigating a series of high-value robberies called the Alphabet Crimes. That is the stupidest name I've ever heard, but we'll go with it. At each crime scene is left an encrypted letter marked with an alphabetic character, distinctive to each heist. Complicating matters. Yeah, the Sesame Street crimes, right. Complicating matters is the new political state of the Beverly Hills PD, led by the verbally abusive, and he's not really that verbally abusive, but whatever. He's not like...
Yes, he is.
No, not...
He's just a dickhead.
He is. Not compared to, what's his name, Detroit's guy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's
the best.
Yes.
But he's a fun abusive person. Where this
He's
guy's
hilarious.
That's true. So the verbally abusive new police chief, Harold Lutz, who suspends Bogomil in retaliation for Rosewood contacting the FBI for assistance. Lutz also punishes Rosewood and Taggart by demoting them to traffic duty, which they never do. On his way home, Bogomil is lured into a trap by ruthless henchwoman Carla Fry. Dun, dun, dun. The chief enforcer of Mastermind, Maxwell Dent. Wow. And left with a near-fatal gunshot wounds, a letter marked B. He was shot twice in the chest. He should have been killed. But whatever.
He should have been dead.
Yes, he should have been dead. I know. But whatever. I know.
Point blank range.
Point blank range.
The first one not killing him because, it's kind of like a drive-by. But she's like standing right there in front of him. And she just walked over and just shot him in the head again. My biggest problem with the setup here is it's just how they try to set this up. Okay, I'm going to have car problems, and he's going to come and try to rescue me, and then that's where we're going to shoot him.
Just naturally assuming he's not going to drive by.
Right. That's your plan?
Right.
I mean, that's a stupid plan. It really is.
But learning of Bogomil's attack on the news report, Detective Axel Foley travels to Beverly Hills to investigate who attacked Bogomil and why. And that's really the setup of this movie.
Why would that have been on the national news?
It was some police, I think it was some police for blotter kind of TV series. It wasn't national news because they're like in Los Angeles news,
Right.
Yeah. Whatever.
Weird.
Maybe the crime was something that was being talked about nationally.
Well, because the alphabet crimes makes it sound like there's a serial killer on the loose.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. It should be the Sesame Street crime.
Yeah, it's
the Sesame Street crime.
It's so stupid. I think part of this was an excuse for Eddie Murphy to be able to drive a Ferrari around. I mean, because even his new undercover thing is kind of...
Yeah, what is it? It's credit cards? American Express black cards or something? Yeah.
Is it black or...
No, they're blank.
They're black.
So they're they're American Express black cards. They're still around today, but they're blank, apparently unregistered. I don't even know how you would do that, but whatever.
So it's really weird because we get the guy from the first movie who does the cigarette deal with him shows up.
That's stupid too.
Really stupid.
I hate the rehash of that. We don't need him. But then the other guy that he's dealing with says that he's his nephew, but he looks older than he does. Mm-hmm. So he's like, he's not a cop. He's my nephew.
Makes no sense.
And I'm thinking, weak. He looks like he's 20 years older than you. How the hell is he's your nephew? And then he gets out of the deal because he has to go to LA now. But I mean, it's like...
No, he doesn't. He has Paul Reiser drive the Ferrari around. So it looks like he's still in...
Right. But at that time, he suspends the deal because he was supposed to make that deal right there.
The cigarette deal. Right.
Not necessarily the credit card deal.
Credit card deal. Cigarette's the first one, of course. What's the matter?
So, but it doesn't make any sense. So, because you didn't, how were you going to arrest these people if they were going to go follow through on it?
I don't know.
I don't know. It just the whole idea of this credit card thing was kind of dumb to begin with.
I like Inspector Todd shitting on the whole idea, though. It's great.
But then he's like, I'm so deep in this, I got to have an arrest. I got to have something. Or it's my ass on the line.
$2,000 for a suit. $200 for a tie.
$50,000 for a car.
Oh no!
It's 67. Yeah, 67.
That scene in the office is the best part of the first part of the movie. Is them going back and forth. I would like to see more of Inspector Todd. Inspector Todd is great. Well, yeah, maybe Inspector Todd coming to Beverly Hills and giving Axel shit for leaving. Just something to
Anything
add
that
to
we
this
could have
movie.
got more Inspector Todd into this movie would have made this movie better.
I like it that Paul Reiser, he's I guess he's trying to get set up with a date through Axel. And Axel's like, yeah, she doesn't like you. She doesn't even know me. And I guess Axel described her. But then she was going to go out with Axel.
Right. Oh, he likes the car. She likes the car.
She likes the car.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to go out with her
Whatever.
this weekend.
Yeah.
And he probably talked to her and probably was trying to sell him on his friend. And then she became interested in him instead. Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. So is this movie, is the opening scene with the jewel heist, they're not really grabbing shit just to grab shit. It's just kind of like a setup for this alphabet.
No, they're grabbing shit. They need to get money for this arms deal.
Yeah, total 80s plot there, an arms deal.
I don't know. Does Dent own the jewelry store?
No,
he
does. No.
Because he's collecting insurance money, ultimately, is what he's doing.
From the racetrack.
Right.
Well, yeah, from the racetrack at the end he does that, but all his other businesses, he's let them lapse.
He wouldn't have made that much money off of what they stole from.
That's why I was like, is this just like a setup, like a test run kind of thing?
They
it's
talk
not
about
like they're robbing Cartier.
They stole the right stuff. So maybe there were certain things that they got that were really expensive. I didn't understand at the end why she had to shoot the chandelier at the end.
It looked, it just looked like a smashing grab.
She's shooting everything, man. She's crazy.
Yeah.
They're walking out and she just turns around and just shoots the chandelier so it falls. I didn't understand that at all.
Because it's a stupid action sequence.
Yeah, but that's a typical action film.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You had to have your bad guys do something to set everything up, right? Something bad to set everything up.
I don't know. At this point in time, when you see Brigitte Nielsen, don't you know that she's automatically the bad guy?
Not necessarily, because she was in Cobra. She was the damsel in distress.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I mean, like Rocky IV, she was the bad guy. I mean,
that's true. That's true.
I mean,
well, she wasn't like bad, but she was.
She was bad.
She was a little naughty.
She was Russian.
She was all those Russians in the 80s. They were just naughty.
Exactly, of course.
Naughty Russian.
It's the trope: the bad communist Russian and the bad German. But this whole first section is I don't know.
I mean, it's not all bad, but I'm not sure if I really like this guy Lutz, the chief now.
Of course you're not supposed to like him.
Well, you're not supposed to like him, but he's just too over the top for me. He's just way too cartoonish. And I think that's the problem with this movie a little bit, is it being a little cartoonish. Not only are you supposed to not like him, he's supposed to be stupid, arrogant, abusive, all the things that you want to throw into somebody that you dislike. He has it. And then, of course, the guy he puts on the alphabet crimes is also an idiot as well. And then, of course, he wants to fire everybody. I guess he's fired everybody, but those three are the only ones that are left. They're just stupid things. I would have liked to seen some of maybe the two cops from the original Beverly Hills Cop are still there.
They should have made the connection that he was a political appointee.
I made that connection.
Because ultimately, that's what... Yeah. That's what we find out. That's what he is.
I made the connection because the mayor is like in every other scene.
But the mayor doesn't particularly like him either. We don't see that the mayor.
Was that Roger Corman?
No, it wasn't Roger Corman, but he was a character actor of that time frame. I remember him mostly from The Ref.
Okay.
The Ref.
He was, which a movie that we did.
Yeah.
He went up against the police officer, and he was like,
right.
I did your wife twice, Bob, or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a little too over the top. I mean, okay, first of all, Boogaloo is a terrible jogger. I mean, you watch him, he's jogging through that oil field, and I'd like to know how he figured out to go to the oil field. I mean, we're just not given enough at the beginning here.
A lot of
holes. I do like the fact that they made the connection that Axel and Bogomil, they were hanging out, going fishing and things like that. I actually thought that was a really ingenious type of a thing to make that connection. But that's just kind of dropped too. Bogomil's daughter is kind of an odd character as well. It's like, is she good or is she part of the alphabet thing?
I never thought that.
I never thought that either.
I thought
It
she
was
was just a waste of character.
It was just weird. It was just, to me, it came off weird. And one of the funny things is how Axel's supposed to get that house, and that's not even really funny. He takes over a guy's house that's under construction, and okay.
And stupid contractors are literally going to be gone a whole
Right.
week and not question anything.
It's all it is. Yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
all it is playing off of the whole thing that Axel convinced the guys in the warehouse in part one
Right.
to follow him. It's like, okay, you did this better in the first movie.
The funny thing about that section of the movies was when they were talking about, what, do the Pointer Sisters live here? So it's kind of a reference.
Right,
Of
right.
course,
Reference to the
yes.
first movie.
That was actually a funny line.
And actually, I like the pool scene where he's back there and Taggart slips and falls. Is that really, Taggart, is that really the actor that slips and falls? Because I couldn't tell if that was a...
No, it was
a goof or...
It was Taggart, but if you look closely, you'll notice that like a cigar and sunglasses were not on at the time when he fell.
Okay.
So it looks like it was done after the fact, a setup scene.
Actually,
I love those
really
little,
well.
It was. I just love those little nickel and dime things that they always seem to
Mhm.
forget when,
And let's be honest, Tony Scott at this point in time was not detail-oriented, we'll put it that way. He's more of a
Correct.
boom and explosion guy.
So where are we at on the scale of 1 to 5
Ooh.
on the upscale?
Based off of the fact that I love Inspector Todd, I think
He's only in the scene for like 3 minutes.
but he's awesome. I absolutely adore him.
You're scaring me,
The
Ted.
one of the best written characters in the entire movie. I'll go at 2.25, but my hopes are not too high. We'll put it that way. It needs to pick up, or it's losing my interest.
I would say I'm 3 actually. I'm entertaining. I mean, Eddie Murphy is doing his thing with the credit cards. He's fine. It's just the story itself is kind of a little bit on the lame
Shit.
side.
It's a little bit of a rehash.
A little
Yep.
bit of a rehash.
Yeah, it's not very original.
Not original, but I think if they would have let Bougainville die, that would have been would have kicked it up a little bit. Raise the stakes a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now you're out for vengeance.
Or if the big bad guy was related to the first guy, big bad guy.
And that's, I think, one of the biggest problems with this movie, maybe, and I know we're getting a little bit ahead, is I just don't get any heat from the bad guys here.
No.
I just don't
There's none.
feel anything from
They
them
don't kill anyone in any of the robbery scenes except their own on occasion. But
yeah, it's confusing, and
the plot is all confusing. I think that the
Yes.
arms deals and all this other stuff, you really didn't need it. All you needed to do was try to get some money and then fly away with the money.
insurance fraud. There's something that's compelling, right, Eric?
insurance fraud, the movie, absolutely, yes. I'll be first in line. Cool. Wouldn't that have been horrible if that was like the big plot of the movie? It's insurance fraud. Dun, dun.
It's a huge part of this movie.
There's no guns or trafficking.
Right.
It's insurance fraud. That's the ultimate plot. Oh my
But
goodness.
actually, that's the thing, is I don't know if it's really that big of a thing, because we'll talk about it at the end. So maybe we'll save that for the end. But
Yeah.
Why don't we go to the build? Eric, why don't you share with us a little bit of what's going on in the middle of this movie?
All right, let's see if the build actually builds. So, reviewing expertly modified bullet casings from the alphabet, a crime, jewelry.
Okay, you're the resident gun knowledge person.
Yeah.
Is that really a thing?
I have never heard of anyone being able to cut a casing.
Yes, that's exactly what
So,
I thought.
Yes, it's interesting. I don't know my casings from a 308, how you would cut that down to a 44 caliber, but whatever. Maybe it can be done. Why would you?
I had made a point to make sure I asked you.
I've never heard anyone cutting any type of casings. They're usually brass casings. I'm not sure why you would cut them to modify the bullet, but I mean it's interesting. But I love how Axel's able to identify it just by looking at it. But whatever, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's fine. So he is obviously an expert, or he's reviewing expertly modified bullet casings from the A jewelry heist. Axel investigates a local gun club. Furious that the gun club's manager, Mr. Kane, used weapons that could be traced to the club, Dent, who is his boss, orders Kane to kill Axel. The assassination attempt by Kane's men fails, but Axel recovers a matchbook from which he recovers Kane's fingerprint and breaks into the gun club and finding a set of coordinates. The coordinates lead Axel, Rosewood, and Taggart to the city deposit. They successfully foil the robbery and pursue the perpetrator's armored car through Beverly Hills in a cement mixer truck. How about that? Causing large amounts of collateral damage. Axel, Rosewood, and Taggart trace the escape vehicle to the Playboy Mansion and infiltrate it, confronting Carla and Dent and Hugh Hefner. Axel learns from Dent's accountant, Sidney Bernstein's computer, that Dent and Carla are planning to leave the country to Costa Rica, while Bogomil's daughter, Jan, discovers that Dent's companies are financially struggling and that he's allowed the insurance to lapse on all of them except for the racetrack, Empyrean Fields. Interesting build. Let's talk about it. What do you guys think of it?
In my opinion, there's two biggest stretches. Like we just talked about.
The bullet casings.
Bullet casings. This gun club seems more like a polo club.
Well, it's Beverly Hills. Yeah.
I mean, when I think of a high-end gun club like that,
they don't have a bar.
They wouldn't they wouldn't necessarily have a bar.
Which I think they should have a bar, actually.
Maybe in Beverly Hills they do.
Yeah.
But I would think it would be more skeet shooting and things like that, not gun range shooting.
Why not?
Because the whole skeet shooting thing seems more hoity-toity.
Yeah, but
me.
I mean,
and that's a term nobody uses anymore.
Hoity-toity, but I mean,
but it just seems more, exclusive and
it is
high end.
It is exclusive, but a gun club. I mean, an indoor gun club. Anyone who has a gun is going to want to fire it indoor. I mean, even in Beverly Hills, and these are people with money, as you can see.
True.
Beautifully set up club.
It's a little weird. Are they using real ammo at that video game thing that they're doing?
At first, it didn't look like they were. I thought they were just using like laser tag kind of stuff.
Yeah,
the shells would come out of the guns when
right?
They were shooting.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And then Axel hits them all. I'm like, oh, maybe they. And they all seem surprised about Axel hitting them. I thought maybe they weren't using real.
And because it rips the screen or whatever.
It was
confusing. The screen looks fine later on.
Of course. And Prochnow is a really good bad guy.
In this?
And he's completely misused here.
Yeah.
He plays a really good bad guy. But it's like none of the bad guys here are bad. And it's almost like Keystone Cops-esque of them trying to assassinate Axel Foley. It's like, we know that nobody's going to assassinate Axel. Why don't they have them send him out to go get Taggart or Rosewood? Or kill somebody close to him. Why don't they try to finish the job?
Why don't they kill him at the house?
Bogomil? It's just one thing after another. And so the fact that he fails at killing Axel, that he's going to get
Oh, sure.
He's going to get axed.
It's going to happen.
Okay, he gives the name of Rick James, of course.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Rick James produced his album.
Right.
Party All the Time.
Party All the Time, which was a big hit in 1986.
Big.
Yeah.
But then he gives them an address, not expecting anything. So he's thinking that these guys are bad.
Right.
But he's telling them where he lives.
Right. I thought that was so weird,
I did, too, because I'm like, oh, he's going to send him over there and kill him.
Right. Obviously.
But of course they don't. They wait outside. It would be easier if they just snuck in the house when he was in the pool back there.
Right.
And chilling out and killing him there.
So stupid.
Wait till get to that nightclub and then they're kind of looking at him and they know that he sees them. I mean,
right.
It's just really stupid how it's played out.
It's so Keystone Cop, like...
Again, here's Eddie Murphy. He's written the story. This is his first story. He doesn't have, the background of writing. He didn't probably write the screenplay, but he has the idea of how he wants the movie to go. My problem with the baddies here is they're just too one-dimensional. They're just, use the word in Mr. Holland's opus, cliche. Mm-hmm. All of them are bad cliches about bad guys.
Yeah.
Not complex at all.
No.
They don't have any personalities whatsoever.
No. You don't know what's driving them. Okay, see, here's what makes the 80s bad guy. There's a reason that Die Hard is a classic movie, is because Alan Rickman's bad guy, they have a point.
They have personality.
They
Oh,
have
Hans Gruber's the
personalities.
best. Yes.
Hans Gruber's awesome.
Yes.
Because there's, they put it out there plain and simple for you. This is the reason they're doing what they're doing, and it's bad. And they're bad guys. This is just kind of like, he's going to do an arms deal, and he really doesn't have okay, this is 1987. You could have had him trying to smuggle guns to the Contras and tied in the CIA type of a thing. You're in L.A. You could have had him bringing cocaine into L.A.
Oh, now that's cliche.
But here
Very
again,
cliche.
Right.
You would have known
I bring
that
it
he
up
was
every time I go to LA.
that he was a bad guy. You know what I mean?
Lethal Weapon, Gary Busey. His character has personality.
Still a bad guy, though.
Yeah, he's still a bad guy, but he still has personality.
He's Gary Busey.
It's fun, but he says him and Mel Gibson, when they go fight at the end, Gibson's like, "You want a piece of the champ," and stuff like that. There's something there that makes them click, and there's nothing that clicks between the bad guys and the good guys in this movie. You don't have like you did in Beverly Hills Cop 1, when you had Axel going
we
to the
talked
club.
about how bad they were too.
But the difference was that Axel, he talked to the bad guys. They went back and forth. There's no back and forth here. They're so separated until the end. I mean, at the end, and I know we're getting a little ahead of us on the end here, but at the end, he's like, "Mr. Foley, you're interfering in things that don't concern of you." That's supposed to be here in the middle of the movie.
Stupid Bond.
It was a very Bond-esque.
No, Mr. Foley, I expect
end.
you to die.
You don't do, well, that's the thing is, what makes that, movie, a James Bond movie, a Bond movie, is the interaction with the bad guy in the middle of the film.
Yeah, we know what the bad guy's point is.
Now, granted, he does interact with Brigitte Nielsen, but her acting chops are
acting.
horrible.
We use that term
very
extremely loosely.
Yes,
she's essentially there
as
to be
stiff as those
Brigitte
legs
Nielsen.
of hers. I mean, it's bad.
She's essentially there to be Brigitte Nielsen.
How long did it take you to shave those legs? By the way?
How long does it take you?
That was actually kind of funny.
Totally ad-libbed.
It's actually funny.
Eddie Murphy is funny when he's ad-libbing.
Yes.
I'm just offering my grooming services.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
I like the idea of the gun club. I like the idea of what he's doing.
It's done so bad. I do like the fact when he says that he's a psychic.
You like Johnny Wishbone?
Yeah, that's pretty hilarious. But even Lutz is
a plutz.
Yeah, he's a stereotypical ball cracking. Bogomil was too nice to you. Now I'm supposed to be bad and blah, blah, blah. Why not have Lutz be connected to Dent in some way where they're trying to undermine the Beverly Hills Police Department? There's so many different ways that you could have connected this, or have the mayor be corrupt.
Oh, that would have been a great twist. The mayor on the payroll too.
It just comes off so.
I know.
There's better ways to do the cliches than they did here. I would have preferred the police chief be crooked, and whereas he's part of all this, where that's why he's mad takes that the FBI off the case. That's why he's gotten rid of everybody.
Getting too close,
and he's pissed off that Rosewood called the FBI. That's logical. That you have this weird-esque serial killer type thing that you would have contacted the FBI and had them come in and take a look at this. You're on a case that nobody can solve. Who do you call? You call the FBI. I mean, come on. It's not like Rosewood was like he called the KGB. He called the FBI, I mean, and it's like a national tragedy. That the one running gag, though, that I do find amusing is all of the wacky, weird that Rosewood has as far as ammunition and guns.
And plants.
The plant thing is a little weird.
Yeah, and the turtle. Yeah.
But all of the guns thing is like,
where's
because it's so out of his character.
Correct. It's funny. It's a running gag.
That's what makes it funny.
Actually, I don't think it's out of his character. I think this is his character. I think to a certain extent, I think the results of the first film has made him become the person that he is. And so he's always been kind of like him and Taggart have always sat around talking about how to relieve stress and things of that nature. You eat too much red meat. Taggart's wife's leaving him, and he kind of goes and tells him, well, I'm surprised she didn't leave you sooner, and things of that nature. So I'm not surprised he does have plants. And then on the other side,
the
he has
plant
all these
thing,
guns.
yeah, no, I'm not surprised at the plant thing. That's more in line with his character. I'm just saying the guns, like he comes out, he has a rocket launcher at one point, and
Well, he
it's just-
finds that. He finds
yeah,
that.
right.
He's
like
talking
the knife.
himself through the instructions. He's like,
And
okay.
Taggart like hands him
don't have one of these.
the missile.
Yeah,
You
right.
don't
Yeah, you don't have one of these, do you, Billy?
I like the knife part where he's like, the Axel breaks the knife when they're
Yeah.
trying to get into the gun club, and
Yeah.
and he's got a knife right there. One problem with the gun club, when they go in to find what they need, there was a deleted scene where I guess they
The
had
lasers.
lasers.
Yes.
I know it was taken out because they said it didn't flow with the movie, but granted, I'm sorry, not much sure does flow with this movie. I
Yeah,
would have kept that in.
And you
'Cause
put
it looked
the
like-
Axel F theme below it.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
they said they had a lot of fun, and that's the other problem with this movie. Is I don't think the score works as well. I think the musical score for the first movie was perfect in every single way. Here, I just think it's misused.
the musical score is very electronic 80s.
Of course.
However, the soundtrack, I do like the soundtrack.
It's not as good as the first soundtrack.
It's not as good as the first one,
but it's not bad.
but
yeah.
I remember listening to this soundtrack a
Oh,
lot.
I owned it. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So, I mean, I remember listening to this cassette tape all the time. No, it's not the first one, but it's still pretty awesome.
And you know that
Um,
deleted scene, since Taggart's smoking all these cigars, it actually ties in all the cigar
It
smoking
makes
too.
it make sense. Yeah.
With trying to find the laser beam. That would have been a good scene to keep in.
Heaven forbid anything makes sense in this
Mm.
movie.
The things that work in this movie is the relationship between Axel, Rosewood, Taggart.
Yeah.
It continues to work.
They have good chemistry. The actors there have good chemistry.
They have great chemistry. I love the fact that Taggart, he slips into that pool, as we stated earlier, and then he comes downstairs wearing this terrible outfit, and Billy's just laughing.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it was improvised. I know it wasn't improvised.
I wish his outfit would have been a little bit more.
I don't know. I think this reaction to how he presents the outfit, he's like, nice.
Yeah.
eh?
Look good, yeah?
Yeah.
And then he goes out looking like that to the strip club. So,
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Which actually works then, because if you're trying to pretend you're Gerald Ford,
He's dressing like
And-
Gerald Ford when he's president. And everyone's so
That's very funny.
naive they buy it. That's the funny.
yeah, not one person questions that he's not just
Right.
What did they call the strip club in the first movie? Striptease.
Striptease.
Striptease,
Striptease
yes.
joint? Yeah.
Striptease, yes. And did that stripper look a little bit like a man with the facial kind of thing?
Man,
a
Not the
little
best-looking
bit.
stripper.
Yeah.
You-
I know you weren't
Up-
looking.
Up
Your
the-
virgin ears, eyes.
Up the budget like by a couple of mil and get some like legitimate models.
What?
Yeah. Just for the strippers.
Okay. They're at that strip club, and I know striptease club, right?
Striptease club.
But really, do they get any real information while they're there? I
No,
just feel like
It's just a way to show titties.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the 80s. You had to.
well, I think it's just a way to bring what you had in the first film into the second
Exactly.
film.
Yeah.
And there's no real point of it. It's a wasted scene, and again, we don't think
Why
he
not-
looks like Joe
Why not
Ford.
have
so
Jurgen Prochnow's character in the strip club?
that would be more interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I get it, man.
Seeing a middle-aged Hugh Hefner was kind of cool.
Yeah, Hugh looked good. And, Hugh Hefner said that he rarely let people use the Playboy Mansion. And if he
That was
did,
the first film.
yes.
That was the first
Never
time they ever
used-
filmed.
Right,
at the
right.
Playboy
And he
Yes.
said
Mansion.
he loved the script and he loved the first movie. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to let you use it.
This is one of the things about Hugh that a lot of people didn't know. He's a huge cinephile. He would show
Probably.
he would have his own movie. He had his own movie theater in the Playboy Mansion, and they would have Casablanca night, and they would show real 35 millimeter cuts of
I thought it was like
movies.
the alternative version of Casablanca.
No. He was a legitimate movie person, and so the fact that he allowed them to use the mansion was pretty cool.
It's again a throwaway scene. I don't think it really brings anything into the movie.
It was a lot. We'll put it this way: Hugh's character, Hugh playing Hugh, was a lot more interesting than Jurgen Prochnow playing Dent.
Yes.
They could have done a lot more with this. Again, my problem with the baddie and Axel really not doing much. So there's a little interaction between the two, but really not much at all.
Why would they have showed up at the Playboy Mansion?
Right after they had just,
And at the Titty Club?
That's the next day.
Oh, okay.
At the Titty Club. They had just foiled the robbery.
Okay, that's right.
So they tracked them down because of the truck was that they used to try to steal the money was abandoned.
Right.
And somehow they were able to track it to the Playboy Mansion, which that didn't make any sense either.
No.
It was just an excuse to have it at the Playboy
I
Mansion.
think so. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And I will say the reaction of the fact that they used a cement mixer, that was funny, but it should have been done right there.
I think they were aiming for the beginning of the movie of Beverly Hills Cop 1, where you needed some type of vehicle that's going to cause all this damage all the way to the end. And then all the cops having to slam into each other. It's just that, talking about cliche.
Right,
There's
right.
a cliche thing right there. When you were watching this in the theater for the first time in 1987, it's fun. When you're watching it almost 20, 30, 40 years later, stupid.
Not so fun. It doesn't age well. It's kind of like,
It doesn't age well at all.
Well, it's because, like we said, the cliches have been done better.
It's one thing if you did this and it was kind of like the standard, but they just don't do things that make sense. Like I said, the Playboy Mansion really, in all, doesn't make sense. They looked at Dent's itinerary and saw that he was going to be at the Playboy Mansion. And he's like, okay, I'm going to cause some shit there, to stir things up. That's cool. But to do it right after the heist, because somehow right after the heist, that's where you're going to be. The only thing I could think of was maybe they're doing it because of an alibi.
Maybe.
Because like in the horse racing scene at the end, Brigitte Nielsen then all of a sudden shows up at the racetrack. So she has her alibi. So maybe that's why it is, but it doesn't come off played like that. They don't make it look like they're at the Playboy Mansion because of the alibi. They just did it because it was the next thing to do.
We're on to the next scene. Here again, the bad guys aren't bad. They're there.
Yeah. And I would have liked to see Denton and Foley have a better exchange of words. It just came off as being just,
I think we can all agree that if we were going to ask the screenwriter a question, it'd be like, what the hell were you thinking?
Well, yeah. I mean, why not do more with the Playboy Mansion? Reisner at the beginning of the movie is got a Playboy in his hand, and it continues to be kind of a joke thing throughout the movie about Playboys, right?
And two strippers in the car, apparently.
And,
So
making fun of Sylvester Stallone.
Yes,
So
yes.
You get to the Playboy Mansion. Why don't you have Murphy have more fun being in the Playboy Mansion? I just don't think he's having enough fun. Now, maybe he's interacting with some of the centerfolds. Something to make it fun. It's kind of more like an in and out.
Or we see any of the centerfolds?
I think they're playing like volleyball or something like that. It would be more fun if Eddie was interacting, maybe trying to like, hey, I saw you in the in this issue, the May issue of 1987
right.
or whatever.
Here's the thing. Everybody knows that Eddie was very prominently always at the Playboy Mansion too. So it's not like he's unfamiliar.
But I mean, why not play with that? Just make it more fun. I think this movie lacks a little bit of the fun that the first movie had. It tries at times, and I could tell that they reshot things, that there's rewrites. You could tell because it doesn't flow. None of this flows. Some of this comedy is added in, and it doesn't connect the dots. Your comedy should help connect things. Your comedy should help you go from one scene to the next scene. And this movie, unfortunately, doesn't do that. I don't think it's horrible by any means. I still like this movie at this particular time. In fact, if we were going to the hook meter at this point, I would probably be 2.5 to 3, so maybe 2 3/4, somewhere around there. What about it?
I'm going to go 2.5. I'm not really too sold on it yet. It's not the worst. It's not the best. What about you, Ted?
I'm still right at my 2.25,
Mm.
2.5. I mean, it's a little bit better than the setup.
It's growing.
So,
It's growing.
So probably 2.5. At this point, I'm really skeptical about how they're going to wrap this all up.
And with that, let's roll into Stick the Landing, our homage to Ted. Deciphering the D letter, Axel learns that is signed Carlos. There is a Dick letter. Yes, depending on how you like the movie.
That likes those type of letters.
I know he does, yes. Where was I? Dent is framing Kane for the crimes. Yeah, there's your interesting plot there, and we all know how that turned out. Carla and her men rob the racetrack and kill Kane. Lutz publicly announces that the alphabet crimes have been solved, but Axel notices red mud at the stables, identical to the traces he found on Bogomil's running shoes. This leads him, Taggart, and Rosewood to Dent's oil field, where Dent is using the $10 million raised from his crimes to purchase weapons from the arms dealer Nikos Thermopoulos. Boy.
Yeah.
So the Greeks are selling arms now. Axel, Rosewood, and Taggart get into a shootout and manage to destroy the trucks carrying the shipments with explosives. Dent confronts Axel in the warehouse, but Axel gets distracted by one of Dent's henchmen on the roof above him. Dent gets away. Dent then crashes through the wall with his car, and Axel kills him by shooting him in the head through the glass. The car hits Axel and goes down a hill, erupting into flames. Carla appears and is about to kill him, but is shot dead by Taggart, who is so happy he's finally killed someone. Boy.
Women.
Yeah, women. Boy, I don't know, guys. This reading this and watching this, it's not looking good. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't like the fact that Kane is the guy that they set up, because this character isn't interesting. And
well, again, you knew he had to die.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course. At the beginning of the movie, when he's screwing up on everything and he continues to screw up, of course he's going to die. But to use him as the frame, to frame him, I would like it better if they framed Brigitte Nielsen's character. I didn't see that coming, but the character is not interesting at all. We had
None of them are.
If Kane had more interaction with Axel, then maybe so. But again, you have to make your baddies interesting in order for it to play out. And that's what I think this movie suffers from.
Yeah, played out.
And then the thing about the mud and the shoes and stuff. Okay.
Stupid.
First of all, what do they dip those shoes into the mud?
Right.
I mean, did they just shove them all the way as deep as they can go and then pull them out? Why would that even be a connection? I would even just think, oh, he's got dirty shoes.
Axel's photographic memory about identifying mud.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Are you a mud expert?
Yeah,
now?
right.
I didn't hear him say, hey, can you take this mud sample that, have it checked out or something like that. When he notices it over by Rosewood, it's liquefied. It's
exactly.
What it is it's paying off the whole thing, because it was so weird when Axel was in Bogomil's house that he looked at those shoes, and you're like, why are they showing the shoes? Well, it has to pay that off later.
Well, sure, you have to, but
it's all
liquid
service.
mud? Seriously?
Why was the mud important in the first place? We see Bogomil at the beginning of the movie, getting down on his knees, checking out the mud. What? The mud has drugs in it or something? Why is this mud so freaking important?
It's like Ted says, to tie the scenes together. It's to bring everything home at the end, but it does a very poor job. It's terrible. You're right. It's a very poor job of tying it together.
The end here is a mess.
Oh, the end is a disaster.
It's a complete mess.
Horrible.
It is. I don't care that Axel shoots Dent in the head.
It's too quick, first of all. It's way too quick.
I don't care that Brigitte Nielsen gets shot. It's just an end. It's like, okay, now it's time to wrap the movie up. Let's wrap it up and have people shoot each other, okay?
Yeah. The fun part about this ending, because there is a fun part, is Rosewood. Rosewood is having fun.
He's having the time of his life.
His character is, if you can hit the other characters on his level, I think you'd have a better ending here. The fact that he tries to break in by trying to imitate what Axel did earlier with the gum and the foil and try to break into the security thing, and he fails, which kind of helps Axel. But
Yes, it does.
but then he has the Uzi, and he accidentally blows up the truck. He's having fun. Why not have your characters have fun with this? If your Axel seems to not be, he doesn't seem to be too serious enough, or he's not funny enough here at the end.
They try to thread a needle with him being competent cop, but also funny. And by competent, I mean almost over the top competent. I mean, he recognizes mud. It's a little ridiculous. Right. It doesn't work. Instead of coming off smart, like he did in the first movie, now it comes off like he's super cop.
Yeah. There's one thing about being street smart, which he shows in the first movie. There's another thing about being a little bit too scientific, like the mud thing. Seems to know a little bit more than he should.
In the first movie, he knows the coffee thing.
Right, which makes sense.
Makes sense, because you tied it in that he's seen some shit in Detroit.
Right. Drugs.
Here, we have no way to know why he knows so much about everything. It's like I said, as he turns into Super Cop. We already know that Axel knows things. It doesn't have to be shoved down our throat that he knows everything.
Why not have the other characters know? Why not have Taggart or Rosewood
Since
know
how
these
they
things?
live in Beverly Hills, and they probably would have been to that area before.
Maybe something at the beginning of the movie where Rosewood sees and says something to Bogomil about his shoes. Hey, your shoes are all messed up. Oh, yeah, it was...
Yeah, where did you get that mud?
Where did you get the mud?
Something to that extent to connect it later. To have Axel connect all this is just ridiculous. Let your detectives... This is 3 years later. Let them show that they have learned something in those 3 years. That Billy is a little bit more seasoned and contributed. To a certain extent, they do it with Billy with the guns and things of that nature, but they could have done so much better here. There are elements of a good movie here. The fact that they had to steal a screenwriter from another movie to do the rewrites, I don't know what he did to try to... I don't know if I want to see what the movie was before the rewrites, because it doesn't sound like it was watchable, if that's the case. Because I don't know what the rewrites were, but this movie still doesn't stick the landing.
There are some funny elements. The whole rocket launcher thing is really kind of funny. It doesn't add up.
I mean, the scene with Godfrey, when they're going back and forth about...
Yeah, that's
all
pretty
ad-libbed.
funny.
All ad-libbed between Godfrey and Murphy. There should have been more ad-libbing in this movie. They should have given Murphy more power to ad-lib.
Well, you have two really good comics that are going back and forth with each other at that point. They make it make sense. Because that's what a stand-up has to do. They have to think on their feet like that. And that's when they start to interact that way. That scene is actually gold. And it's like, okay, yeah, it works.
Think about it from the original, when Judge Reinhold ad-libbed that scene with Taggart in the car about the red meat. That was funny.
Right.
Good ad-libbing pays off. And if you have people that can do it, you should give them more power to do it, especially with a script of this caliber. It is really just rehashing a lot of the stuff from the first one. And I want to really just go into the ending of this movie that I did not mention in my Stick the Landing. But why does the mayor show up at this bust? It makes absolutely no sense that the mayor is there. And then the mayor firing everyone is so cliche. It's almost like the end of the first one a little bit, but a little different. But it's so cliche, as we've said earlier today. I was just like, the ending was stupid.
It's rushed.
Oh, it is.
Everything is rushed. They had the last crime there at the racetrack. Somehow the chief of police and the mayor are there already saying that they solved the murder. And then, of course, they're there because, well, they're next door to the racetrack. So I can understand to a certain extent why the mayor's there still.
But you bring the mayor to an active crime scene like that after you don't know if everyone is dead?
Well, I don't know if it's active by the time they get there, but I guess, yeah, you want to keep the mayor safe.
I would think.
But like I said, it's rushed. Everything has to happen within a scope of the last 10, 15 minutes, and they're just cramming it all in at the last second. It's crazy. It would have worked better if they went back to the police station, and then he would have went off, and then the mayor would have fired him there. It just makes more sense at that particular time.
A lot of things
Huh?
make more sense.
At the moment, in the first movie, the police chief was there right on the scene, really too quick as well. It is what it is, but I don't know. It's like this movie, I think a good way of putting it, a lot of things are forced.
It's a mess.
I think it's forced at the end. It's a mess because it's all forced.
Sequels are hard to do.
I mean, it's all wrap up. It's like you said, it's quick. It's like, okay, we're at 100 minutes. Movie has to be done. Finish it up, guys.
Guess who becomes the new police chief?
Shocking!
Is it Bogomil?
Whoa!
It's Bogomil, who's
Because-
made an amazing recovery.
Because all of a sudden he wasn't in the movie a whole lot because he was shooting RoboCop. He becomes RoboCop Bogomil. Right?
Yeah.
He should have been dead.
And then on top of that, the mayor calling Inspector Todd to thank him and all that.
That's stupid.
Here's,
too.
it's dumb.
Dumb.
Well, first of all, shouldn't Inspector Todd be more furious? Shouldn't he just fired him
Yes.
on the spot?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, oh, you helped them. Well, why don't you keep your job in Beverly
Yeah,
Hills?
why don't you
then,
stay out
because
there?
Your job here is gone. No, you had Paul Reiser wreck the Ferrari.
Okay. So that is actually one of the. I completely forgot about that until we mentioned this.
Paul Reiser?
Paul Reiser pretending to be Inspector Todd.
Yes.
That was pretty funny, and also the fact that Paul Reiser's character crashes the Ferrari.
This is
That's
not my
actually-
office.
It's not my office. Yeah, come on.
That's actually funny too. So
Yeah.
here again, stuff with Inspector Todd, funny. Everything else, not funny.
Like I said, it just doesn't make sense how Axel still has a job at the end here.
He shouldn't.
He
He should have been fired after the first
Well,
one.
sure.
Well, the first one makes a little bit more sense. He was on vacation. But here, he was supposed to be actually doing his job and left for a few days to do another job in another state. The money that he spent.
Yeah, let's don't even get into the real life logistics of the fact that he's out of jurisdiction
Sure.
and has no legal right
Right.
to do anything in Beverly Hills.
Oh, still a house. So, I mean.
Yeah, he's
But
committed a numerous amount of crimes.
And wreck shit up in Beverly Hills
But hey,
in a concrete
one-
truck.
One way to wrap this up you could have done was actually have Paul Reiser's character solve the credit card thing.
that would have been funny. That would have been
Exactly.
funny. Yes.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been like a very ironic laugh out loud. Paul Reiser. Yes, that's a great ending as like a credits
Exactly.
ending, as the credits roll kind of
Chris,
thing.
Spoiler alert. I'll give you a spoiler alert here. Beverly Hills Cop 4, he's the chief of police.
Reiser?
Paul Reiser?
Oh.
Oh, Lord.
So something like that would have given him credit to be.
It would have
Chief
made
of
him not
police.
a bumbling co-conspirator with...
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Why isn't
I would
Axel
like-
the chief of police?
Oh, we'll get into that when we get to the fourth movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw it out there because I just think this movie could have ended differently and a lot better than it actually did.
I don't
I mean,
think they ever had plans to make a fourth one, though. I think they stopped at 3.
Here's
and-
the thing. We talked about the scene with Gilbert Gottfried. Paul Reiser's another brilliant stand-up comedian, and he does have some funny scenes here where he actually is able to use his comedic talent. Why not have him accompany Axel out to California and introduce him to Taggart and Rosewood thing?
I
It's
think
like-
Eddie Murphy doesn't want to share the limelight. That's
I think
yeah.
that's bingo.
yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
And because this is the Axel Foley show. And I mean, he's super cop. He is, he even overshadows Taggart and Rosewood big time.
I would have liked to see, and this was my hope for Beverly Hills Cop 3, was a flip where they went to Detroit.
That would have been, yes.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. Totally different way of life in Detroit.
You wanna
Now
talk
they're the
about-
fish out of water.
Exactly.
You took the words right out of my mouth,
yeah.
Eric.
And then they're experiencing things for the first time. Because that's what we lose from movie 1 to movie 2 is the new experiences that Eddie Murphy goes through, right? I mean, they try to play it off at the beginning of the movie with all these, montage scenes again of Beverly Hills, which we don't really care by this time.
Nah.
But it's paint by numbers, a sequel. This is a paint by numbers sequel. So I think it's time for us to finalize our Hookbound movie ratings. What do you guys think?
All right. Start us off, Ken. What do you got?
I'm going to go with a 2.5 on this. I think it might have been a little higher. If I just watched it in 1987 and left it in 1987, I think it would have been higher.
Don't think about it too much.
Yeah, don't think about it too much. I mean, I still would watch it again. I don't know when I would watch it again, but if it came on, I wouldn't necessarily turn it off. I would hope there would be something better on, but I don't think it's horrible. So it's something that I could rewatch again. I'm just not in a hurry to do it.
How about you, Ted?
The ending ruined. It's just a complete and utter mess. For me, it was just there. It's a movie I'll probably never watch again. I didn't find it appealing in just about any way. Misuse of a lot of really good characters and a lot of good actors. I don't know. It's disappointing. I'm going to go back to a 2.25. It's for me, it's considerably lower than the original. And yeah, sequels are hard to do, but put in a little effort. We'll put it this way. It's not Die Hard 2, but it's along the same lines as Die Hard 2, which Die Hard 2 is freaking abysmal. It's not Caddyshack 2, we'll put it that way.
No. No, it is not Caddyshack 2. So you're giving it
or Dumb and Dumber 2.
Ooh.
Now that's really bad.
That is a crime against humanity. That's an abomination. So yeah, 2.25.
So midway at the build-up, I was a 2.5. Yeah, the ending of this thing is just tragic. It's not even worth my time. I'm down to a 2.25, 2. I don't want to give it a 2 because it's got some good lines in it. Will I watch it again? Probably not. The first one, man, I'll watch that thing over and over again. This one, it's a memory. And boy, I'm looking forward to watching Beverly Hills Cop 3, the next movie we're going to do in our series here.
That's why this movie wasn't lower for me, because I'm terrified about what I'm going to watch.
Ted has not seen that. I haven't seen that movie since it came out. So it might as well be new eyes for me, too. I remember bits and pieces of it.
I remember it enough. I think I've seen it multiple times.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, stay tuned, everyone, for our review of Beverly Hills Cop 3. We'll see how we all enjoy watching that. As always, thank you for joining us on the Hooked on Movies podcast. And remember, everyone, you're the disease, and I'm the cure.
See you at the movies.
See you next time on Hooked on Movies.